Good afternoon. In this video, I want to look at some more nutty teaching from Peter Ruckman, looking at his reference Bible. And if you go to Revelation 16, it talks about the vials being poured out. And the first went and poured out his vial upon the earth, and there fell a noisome and grievous sore upon the men which had the mark of the beast, and upon them which worshipped his image. And of course, in chapter 14, it talks about those who take the mark of the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and the presence of the Lamb. Now, I always tell you, when you get a reference Bible, you get any type of Bible that has reference notes, and always check the references. See where they're leading you. And here, there's no exception here. He's got a reference note to Leviticus 13 and 13:53. This just tells you about the issue of being white. Here another remarkable revelation stuffed in here where no scholar could find it. Lot's wife was an Egyptian from Ham. Christ said to remember Lot's wife when the tribulation comes. Leprosy is an African disease, and an African leopard is marked by spots. The leprosy here is connected with white spots, but if the victim turns white all over, not black, he is clean. 2 Kings 5:27. Lot's wife turned into a pillar of salt, white from head to foot, though she, like Alphard, was an Egyptian from North Africa. That's the type of bizarre connections you get with this guy. Just bizarre. He just pulls stuff out and just look at that. Look at it. It's allegorical. It's an imagination. But let's look at the 2 Kings. So it goes to 53, verse 53. This is the plague of leprosy, which comes with fooling with the mark. Who's fooling with the mark? He's taking a nap. Fooling with the mark. See how downplay it. People just fooling around with the mark. The mark of a leopard in the tribulation. According to the New Testament, Jude 23. So it was immediately altered in every new translation to cover up the revelation given in 1611. This plague can get in your clothes, literally. So the reference in Jude is literal. Jude, by the way, he believes is tribulation. He gives some due application. The only thing different from him and mid-Acts guys is he'll go into the general epistles and probably pull something out that looks like church. But Jude, he says, is for the tribulation. So you can take Hebrews, James, and Jude out of your and you can just divide up in 1st, 2nd, 3rd John. Just look at little pieces. This is for the church. That's for tribulation. You know, that's not a doctrinal application. That's a spiritual application, because that's not for the church. That's for the tribulational saints. Going to Jude here. Let me see quickly here. He says here, the whole epistle deals with the end of the great tribulation immediately preceding the second advent. Although because of the day of the writing, you'll find some Pauline doctrine. See, he can figure out what a Pauline doctrine is. But here you go from verse 23. And others saved with fear. Save? How are you going to save someone who takes the mark? Saved with fear, pulling them out of the fire. Hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. That's where he connected the garment, the leprosy. You see how these guys connect these things, people? You see how twisted your mind has to be? How are you going to save somebody from the mark? You can't. You can't. But he's got, well, she's little, so that was hidden in 1611. These scholars can figure that out. So I'm gonna connect that with the mark here in Jude 23, even hating the garments, pulling them. Save with fear. You can't save a guy with a mark. They think this guy's a genius. This guy was so fouled up in his imagination, he would make connections that have no connections. Imagine going to Revelation 16 and trying to go back to the leprosy and then talking about the issue of being totally white and the African and what? Might have to be warped. But we're not done yet. We'll look at 2 Kings. because that's another reference. 2 Kings chapter 5. This is a mind that's lost all sense of reality. By the way, he goes to the Greek here in one of the verses by kissing the idol. He actually makes an appeal to the Greek word as opposed to staying with the English. Yeah, well, Mr. King James only guy. He's in Greek. 2 Kings 5. The Gospel according to 2 Kings. Got a subheading. What? Verse 5:1. The passage down to verse 15 is a great picture of New Testament salvation. But note that the water baptism here is for the cleansing of the filth of the flesh. Water baptism in the New Testament is not for that at all. 1 Peter 3:21. This baptism probably prefigures a water baptism that will be carried out in the tribulation using the formula of Acts 2:38. It will have something to do with removing the grievous poxes or sores of Revelation 16:2. What? The reason that people have the sores is they took the mark. You're not getting rid of the sores. It will probably have something to do with this. And hate even the garment. And the garment had a little interpretation. You know, this is Gene Kim. This is Robert Baker. This is Hoffman. This is Andrew Sluter. This is John Davis. This is the thinking. The warped, distorted, twisted thinking of a guy basically who thought he could find something in everything. And nothing would he just mocked people. I see this. He had his vivid imagination. The verse says 16:3, you get poxes based on verse 14 because he took the mark. You're not saving anybody who took the mark. There's no water baptism that removes the mark. Probably prefigures an Acts 2:38 baptism. Where do you get that from? Oh, but those guys will defend him to the death, people. Well, I always tell you, check the references. Anybody who does any reading always knows everything. The real information is in the footnotes. You go for the footnotes, you find the information. And it's the same thing with the reference. You get a reference Bible, you check the references. You see how sound these guys are. You check this guy's references. He's all over the place. Just makes sense. And then he's definitive. That guy. He says probably prefigure. It doesn't probably prefigure anything. And this is like a sign of New Testament salvation, but it's not because they have a water baptism. And you see, he's always trying to find something that's not there. He's always trying to. That's what these guys do. What did the Bible show you? What did God show you from the Bible? And so they're always trying to find something, and they make stuff up. No connections there. Yeah. Well, look at Jude. The book of Jude is for the tribulation, end of the tribulation. And you can save those even, with their garments, soiled. Saving those. 23. And others save with fear. You don't save any people with the mark. Pulling them out of the fire. Hating even the garment spotted by the flesh. See, he's saying that you have leprosy. And the garment would even have a leprosy, which back then, everything that was corrupted by leprosy. Has nothing to do with the mark. It's nothing to do with it. And you're not rescuing them. And he says, 124. See, now we get to switch to Pauline. See, now we get, okay, that's your tribulation. Now we switch to Pauline. Notice again the dual nature of the general epistles. Right after a verse that doesn't match the Pauline doctrine of the eternal security of the believer, doesn't say anything about not matching anything. It's about saving other people, from going to damnation. It's about having compassion. Verse 22, and some have compassion, making a difference. The people you see going in the wrong direction, you're supposed to have compassion on them and reach them. It has nothing to do with, the eternal security. As these are unsaved people. You have a verse that does match it. See, we found a verse that matches the Pauline epistles in the book of Jude. So he does it in 1 John. Except he gets tribulational saints, says they're born again, which is not supposed to happen in the Old Testament. Remember, nobody in the Old Testament is born again. But tribulational saints are going to be born again, according to Ruckman, based on 1 John 5. Rightly dividing the word of truth. There we go. Joe Kim, we got to rightly divide. Rightly divide. You guys aren't rightly dividing. It's him. Rightly divide. Rightly divided. Goes far beyond the hyper-dispensationalist practice of dividing the Pauline epistles from the general epistles. All he does, the mid-Acts guys, they just take general epistles, don't worry about it, and I saw dealing with tribulation. All he does is go in there and say, yeah, they're right, but we'll just cherry pick a few of them and change them, because some do match the Pauline epistles. That's what he does. He's no different than the mid-Acts guys. So that's why I start put this and tell you how goofy this guy is, and that's what you do when you're reading this guy. You're reading a guy he talks about one of his books was his son Peter. You know, I think that's the one that went insane and killed his family, killed his two boys. There's something wrong with the guy. Mentally, something wrong with the guy. Really, you know. He had all these weird imagination, and the idea you're finding all these connections, you see? This is something was hidden. No other scholar's seen this. Like, no one has 1611 Bible for 300 years, and no one else saw this but Ruckman. See this connection here? It's that leprosy, and then we're going to connect it to the mark, and then, in Jude 23, you're going to pull him out of even hating the garment. You're not saving anybody. Save him from the fire. You're not saving anybody with the mark. And the New Testament salvation in 2 Kings 5:1. What? And taking that baptism. Probably it's a baptism like Acts 2:38. You see where they come up with stuff like Brian Dengler and Robert Breaker with the cutting off the right hand, and Kim talks about cutting off his right hand and cutting off his forehead, where they came up with this bizarre stuff. This is that the teacher teaches them. Just make anything up. It's just okay. Because God is showing you something. Brian, God is showing us stuff. So, you wonder where it comes from. Doctrine has to be tested, basically, with other doctrine. And if you find something new that no one else has found, you either better go really search, really carefully again, because whatever's been found has probably been found already. Or, you better really check everything you've done and say, man, this is serious. You don't take this lightly. If guys have been in there, this book 400 years, and all of a sudden you're going to find something no one else has found. Now you're walking on some shaky issue there. There's a lot of areas that haven't been fleshed out, like the temple, the temple, and the Ezekiel temple. A lot of things that people are waiting to really look at, the measurements and things like that. But here you have the case where guys are always looking for something, and they're always looking, and that's what Ruckman, making these connections to this connection. See that? No one's ever seen this before, and this is why it's changed. Leprosy has changed to this, and this is really the mark. And then about the leprosy and the mark of the leopard. And remember Lot's wife, that had to do with her turning to salt, and the issue of her being white and white. Remember Lot's wife, don't look back. That's what the simple message is. In tribulation, they can't look back. Remember Lot's wife, don't go back to your house, don't anything, flee. That's simple. Salt and white. What? So I'll put this up, and then I'll get to Kim's video on James 2. Amen. Thank you.